Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Ross Muir. I'm actor producer of Conn Artists Theatre Company, who are producing The Haunting by Hugh Janes for an autumn tour. And I'm delighted to say I have Hugh Janes with me this afternoon to answer a few questions. Hello, Hugh.
Hello, Ross. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, I'm going to get straight to it. So, what excited you about writing this play?
I loved the idea of well, no, sorry, let me go back. There hadn't been a ghost play written for the whole length of the time that The Woman in Black was on, and it came up to I think its 21st anniversary, and I thought, it's a rather long gap between ghost plays, and I looked around for various writers like M.R. James and Lovecraft and people like that, and then came across these short stories by Charles Dickens, which mostly had appeared in sort of periodicals or in with short stories within the novels, like the Pickwickians might have been sitting around at a table telling a story which would have been a ghost story. So the stories weren't of themselves able to be dramatized. They weren't quite strong enough. They weren't like Christmas Carol, for instance. But I had a story about my cousin who had been an antiquarian book dealer in Brighton way, way back. And when I was a boy of about 10, he and I went to the cinema. And when we were walking home back to my aunt's house, he told me the story of how he'd been to value a collection of books at an old house from a couple who died. And while he was uncovering various elements of the books, he found things written in the fly leaves or bits of paper that were stuck inside the books. And they all related to the deceased and particularly to the deceased female of the family. And he started to get the feeling of this presence that was there. And as the more he unveiled and the more he catalogued the books, the more her presence was felt until one day he actually saw her and he started a conversation, not realizing he was talking to the deceased because obviously he'd never met her. And he had started to have a conversation and realized he was talking to a ghost. And I always remembered that story. It filled my little 10-year-old mind. And I thought, I wonder if any day I can use that. And that became the basis for The Haunting.
Oh, wonderful. That's really fascinating. And I was interested to find out that you started your career as an actor before moving
Hmm.
more into writing on a full-time basis. And so I wondered, as an actor, which of the two parts in the play would you like to have played?
Oh, I think David. I think because David effectively is my cousin, so I think that would be the one because it was obviously the link with the family would be there.
Oh, it's a lovely role, which I'm enjoying exploring myself at the moment.
Good.
Um,
I'm looking forward to seeing you
and
do it. Yeah.
so I suppose my next question is sort of after answering the first one, it is, do you personally believe in ghosts?
I'm I am very open-minded about it. I think after the stories that I've heard, and I've um, somebody told me an extraordinary story yesterday when I was telling them about the play. It was in rehearsals, and this was about uh, a, a, a military family who were moved out to Poland, and this was only 4 years ago, and they were based in on an old premises which had been used as part of as part of the extermination regime. Nobody or very few people knew. The military, the father knew, but he had two small children, and one of the children would cry every single night when he was put to bed. Quite a big, very modernized place they were in, but this little boy would cry every night. So eventually they moved him into another bedroom. Everything stopped. And several weeks later, the father said to his son, he said, I'm pleased that you're sleeping better, but what was the reason? And he said, I didn't like the children visiting me in pajamas at night.
Oh.
This was a 6-year-old, 7-year-old child would have had no knowledge of any of the things that had gone on. So yes, I'm very open-minded about ghosts and things.
Gosh.
And that's why. And I like going to see ghost plays, and it's I think
Oh, yeah, me
they're
too.
enjoyable. Yeah.
And funnily enough, our last play was J.M. Barrie's ghost play Mary Rose,
Oh
um,
yes. Oh yes.
which was a lovely
Nice.
one to revive.
Yeah.
Um, okay, here's one for you. So, why do younger audiences enjoy this play?
Oh, I think probably it's very interesting. Well, they've obviously grown up with a really horrific horror films, which are go from the extremely gory to the extremely intricate in the way that they're plotted. Things like Saw and the It franchise and all of these different films. So Stephen King, many others who write terrific books with these um, extraordinary endings. And I think that they've come to like them so much that it's that when you get to actually confronting Dickens and the Dickensian world and how those his stories um, evolve from his own experiences, because he obviously believed very much in spiritualism and went to see mediums a great deal, particularly because he had a young niece who was also called Mary. It's the name of the ghost in the play, um, who died when she was 17 from unexpected. They don't know why. She just died after visiting the one night after visiting the theatre, and she was living with Charles and his wife at the time, and he always wanted to try and contact her to find out what on earth had happened. So that was one of the reasons for him visiting mediums. And I think that young people are very much attuned to the ways of the spirit world through films, and that when you come up to the practical being in the theatre in a space where you're sharing those experiences, that's one of the attractions of, I think. Anyway, not being such a young person anymore, I can't quite speak for them, but I know that they seem to enjoy it and go quite a lot. So that's the key thing.
Yeah, oh no, that's really interesting. And I seem to remember from the last play that we worked on, which was about Dickens and Lewis Carroll having this fictitious encounter, when Dickens
Yes,
talks about that incident with his half sister, was it Mary? Is it?
yes,
Yeah, and he
yeah,
wore her ring for the rest of his
that's
life
it.
on his
Yeah,
finger. So there's almost like that spiritual connection in an object, isn't there?
yes, yes.
There's still sort of you're still with them, or they're still with you. Um,
Well, I
and
think in the
finally, oh,
oh, sorry, no, in the Roy Grace books, I think it's this a detective. I think it's by Peter James. I think is the writer there. He's a Brighton policeman, and his wife had gone missing, and he never knew why. And he would consult a medium and take objects down, and I think he still uses the medium in when he's investigating the murders and thrillers. So he will often go down and say, what feelings do you get about this? So yeah, I think even in modern thriller detective writers, you're getting this element of the spiritual creeping in.
yes, yes. And the other interesting thing in Worthing, which is where we're based as a theatre company associated with Connaught, is that
Yes.
we've got the Spiritualist Church just down the road, which was founded by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure we'll be getting a group of them along to one of the
yes.
performances.
Oh, I hope
Um,
so.
and finally, I just wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts that you'd like to share with con artists before presenting this play.
Well, I just hope you give the audiences great thrills and great enjoyment in as the mystery unfolds. So, and I hope you enjoy it, and that the audiences get the same kind of pleasure out of it. So, I'm sure they will. They have in the past. So I'm sure they will now.
Lovely.
And very good luck with it.
Thank you so much, Hugh. It's been lovely speaking to you this afternoon, and hopefully see you again soon.
You will. All right, Ross. Bye bye
Okay.
now.
All right. Stop.